How do psychologists use the MBTI assessment? And I believe that is a good one for Quay.
Well, it's a good start to get to know your client. Again, it's one of these things where it's helpful, but it's certainly not the end all be all. Um, I personally look a little bit more at, as you've heard me talking about sort of type dynamics and some of Jung's work with regard to type. And so Jung himself does talk a bit about what happens when certain functions get either overexpressed or sort of get underdeveloped and these types of things. So for me, it can be helpful when I'm working with a client to think about framing their issue, their problem, their concern within that light. So, a client who's an FJ type, so an extroverted feeler, they come in and they're having a hard time understanding why people don't listen to them when they express their needs, or have a hard time expressing their needs, or feel like sometimes they blow up, right? You could sort of talk about that in terms of their frame of usually being very people oriented, usually being the type of person who's putting other people's needs ahead of theirs, and talk about some balance in terms of expressing your own opinions, doing things that to be true, even if it goes against the grain of what the people in your life want. And so I tend to use it in that way, is a way to think about language, is a way to think about frame. And in some cases, even to maybe sort of understand where a person is coming from. If, for me, I'm not quite getting what the issue is, or I don't understand how they're talking about it. Sometimes knowing their type or knowing their function dynamics even can help me think about, oh, okay, they're coming from this perspective. That helps me understand why this might be more of a problem for them, or why they might tend to act in these ways versus these.
I can build on that for a moment. Quay, it sounds like you, as a psychologist, you typically are using it in like one-on-one type of scenarios. There's a long history of practice and research of psychologists and therapists using it more with dyads and groups. So a big history in marriage counseling and with families. And specifically in the way that Quay was talking about, of understanding people's frame of reference, understanding what they will naturally start to focus on, what their values are, communication techniques, and how to talk to people and how to understand people. So there's a really rich history and practice of that as well in psychology.